right, welcome back to the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. It is Wednesday evening, November 9th. I'm here with Troy. What's up, man?
Not much. Getting ready to go on a road trip.
So we're headed to the expo very early tomorrow morning. Should we tell people what time we decided to leave?
What time was it? 4 a.m.?
4 a.m. We're going to be super happy tomorrow at 4 a.m. But I think it's, what did we figure, about 15 hours or so from here? That's if you don't stop.
Like that. I keep looking at flights, but there's just, when you fly standby, there's not enough wiggle room on some of these flights. So we'll just drive, have fun, have a car there, hang out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. So it kind of brings up a show programming note that we want to make. Lest you think that we don't do any work for these shows, there's actually quite a bit of preparation that occurs. And traveling to Canada to go to the expo, and especially driving, that adds, of course, time. It has created a predicament for us as far as our Monday show. We are going to have a Monday show. I think hopefully that's what people would consider the good news. What we're going to do, though, is a little bit of a different show, where Sunday morning, before we take off and head back to the Twin Cities area, we are going to do just a kind of a free form from probably our hotel, figure out a way to make that work. Overview, recap, instant reaction to the expo. And I think it'll be fun. I don't know about you, Troy, but it's kind of excited to try something a little bit different than what we've been doing to this point. So we will have a show Monday. It'll just be a little bit of a change and kind of an experiment, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, feedback will be interesting. So if it stinks, please tell us. But if it's awesome, please tell us too.
Yeah, I'd rather have you tell us it's awesome, but it could stink. We'll see. Last thing before we get going is just a reminder. The Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. We rely on the support of our listeners to help us cover our expenses, continue to produce more and better hockey card content, and help us fund various initiatives that we're working on to help grow the hockey hobby. If you want to support us and like the show, you can take advantage now of our Out of 99 tier and be one of the first 99 supporters of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, forever have that title, and get access to our Discord. And where we're at, that really does is just chat with us on a regular basis if that's of interest to you. But I think more importantly, gives you opportunity to interact with the show a little bit more, suggest topics. So we've had a lot of good suggestions for who's hot in the struggle bus lately, propose questions that we ask guests in our interviews, and just various ways to contribute in the show. If you do want to help us and support the show, you can do that via Patreon. Either go to the Patreon website, search for Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. There's a link in our show description that's on the podcast app that you're listening to right now. Or if you go to our Instagram within our profile, there's a link tree that has a link there. We do want to take the opportunity since Monday's show to welcome, I think it's SETI or CDB, into the Gongshow family. And thank you very, very much from the bottom of our hearts for supporting our show. All right, Troy, you want to run through a game plan real quick?
Today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 30. Hint, it's a goalie. Then it's off to movers and shakers with everyone's favorite segment, the Struggle Bus. Next, we have our final Toronto Sports Card Expo preview. Then it's on to hobby news, followed by a look at the NHL's red-hot scoring pace. We end the show with new product releases and our listener mailbag. All right, so I hinted at it. It's number 30. It's a goalie.
All right, let's give people 5 seconds to guess.
Okay, everyone gets a chance to guess. Deep breath. Okay, 1, 2. Oh, you're thinking, what goalie could it be? And the funny thing is, we've already talked about this guy on our show. If you remember, we had the Mount Rushmore of goalies, and this guy was on it. So number 30, per the Hockey Writers, is Martin Brodeur. And I would say right off the bat, I totally agree with them. Once you remember what we talked about with him and what we'll talk about now again with him. Greatest player in the NHL to wear number 30.
So I know that they give like their honorable mentions. I would assume with the number 30 that there was quite a few decent honorable mentions there.
Yes.
Do you remember off the top of your head?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to look it up now. Because I remember it was definitely goalies. Oh, yeah. So definitely it was a couple of good... Actually, 3 goalies as they had as the runner-up, so we can talk about it because people will forget by the time we get back around. Eddie Belfour was an honorable mention. Henrik Lundqvist was an honorable mention. And I'm going to say it wrong. I apologize, everyone. You can send your hate mail to me. I think it's Roji Vachon. So that was the 3 honorable mentions. But
I think Brodeur the obvious choice there.
Yeah, Brodeur, he Yes, I would agree. So let's look at him. If some of the stuff will repeat if you remember the Mount Rushmore episode, but I tried to find some couple new things to kind of throw in here. Played 1,266 regular season games, which is first all time for a goalie over a 22-year NHL career. Played 21 years with the Devils and 1 year with the Blues, which I think everyone forgets about. He is a Hall of Famer, 3-time Stanley Cup winner, 93-94 Calder Trophy winner for Rookie of the Year, 4-time Vezina Trophy winner, 15-time All-Star, 5-time Jennings Award winner. And I always like to mention, if you don't know what the Jennings Award is, it is the award given to the goalies having played a minimum of 25 games for the team with the fewest goals scored against it. So it's usually given to 2 goalies on the team.
You'd have to assume that whoever his backup was kind of got a really nice award riding the coattails of Brodeur, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I already know who it is, but I should have looked that up too. But I think Chris Terrier at one point was, if I remember right. All right, so Brodeur had a career regular season record of 691 wins, 397 losses, and 154/ties. His career win total of 691 is first all time. He has a career goals against, and I had to go into the 3-digit range now because they get kind of bunched up, was 2.242, which puts him 9th all time. And his career save percentage is .9123, which puts him at 43rd all time. Racked up 125 career shutouts, which is first all time.
I have a question for you on his goals against and save percentage. Do you think that those numbers are impressive given the amount of games he played?
Oh, for sure. His stats are pretty crazy once you look at him and how many games he actually played. And the length of his career being 22 years, obviously he gets help because he was in a very defensive system. And maybe that save percentage is a little lower than we'd like it. But his goals against average was definitely helped by that and how they stifled kind of the opponents with shots. But over a 22-year career and you save over 91% of your shots, I think you're doing pretty well. He was the youngest goalie to win 300 NHL regular season games, and also the youngest to win 400 regular season games, and the youngest to win 500 regular season games. Made the playoffs in 17 of his 21 NHL seasons. 205 playoff games played, which is second all time. He has a record of 113 wins, 91 losses. His 113 wins is second all time for goalies. He had a better goals against in the playoffs of 2.02 and a .919 save percentage. He also had 24 career playoff shutouts, which is first all time. But just to give you a little rundown, he was definitely one of the most durable goalies that the NHL has ever seen. Over his 22-year career, he played 70-plus games 12 times or more, which included a stretch of 10 consecutive seasons.
How many goalies today do you think play 70 games?
They won't let them unless you're like in an old school coach's system. They know too much now about injuries and rest and getting them the proper rest time. You barely see anyone even do back-to-back games anymore. It's not a thing anymore.
Well, you wonder about like his all-time games played and wins record, given that it's kind of like pitching in baseball now. Nobody throws 8 innings anymore, right? How difficult it would be for anybody to break his records unless there's a revert back to the old school method where you have a goalie play every game essentially.
Yeah, I mean, 10 consecutive years of 70-plus more games in the regular season, that's one of those Gretzky-like records that I don't know will be touched ever again. He is known for being obviously durable, also one of the best puck-handling goalies of all time. The trapezoid that you see behind the net in current NHL configuration at the rink, it was created largely as a result of how well he played the puck, and the NHL, in their infinite wisdom to stifle goalies, decided to make the Brodeur rule so they couldn't handle it outside of that trapezoid. He obviously was a hybrid goalie. He was not a traditional butterfly goalie that we see now. He actually did a lot of stand-up and butterfly. He was kind of both. And it's kind of funny. I can't remember who said the quote, but they were saying if you came down and shot from the same location 3 times on Brodeur, he would make a different save every time. It might be a kick save, a leg save, and then a butterfly or a stack the pad save or something, which I thought was kind of funny. That someone mentioned.
I can't imagine that that's the way you teach, right? I would assume you pick a style and just be consistent with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing
and everything now is butterfly. Butterfly's just taken over, and it's kind of the Finns brought in the butterfly and it's kind of just taken over. They were the ones that used it. I don't know what you want to say exclusively, but back in the day, it's kind of funny. You think about, I don't know if it was limitation of equipment or training, but they used to do skate saves and 2-stack pads. You rarely see those anymore. I think Hasek was the last guy that was flying around, throwing every piece of his body. Hey, actually, Fleury does too when he looks behind him to see if the puck went in the net.
So I do have one more question for you on the trapezoid deal. It's funny to me that the NHL would make that rule, given that it seems like almost all rule changes are designed to help produce more offense. And by limiting the goalie's ability to handle the puck in the trapezoid, you're effectively taking away.
No, they can handle it in the trapezoid. They wanted them to stop handling it outside of that trapezoid. And
that's what I meant.
And getting it to their defense. So it does. Its intention is to produce more goals. They wanted the goalies to stop getting the puck out of the zone.
I guess I was looking at it more from the perspective of being able to push the puck out of your own zone faster and into the opponent's zone. But maybe there are some statistical calculations that figured out that it was actually causing less goals in your own zone. So I get what you're saying.
All right. He is the current executive vice president of business development for the Devils. So his fun facts, he holds the record for most goals by a goalie. He's got 3. So that is the NHL leading goal scorer for goalies. He's got the most goals, which is kind of funny. And I thought this isn't really a fun fact. It's more of a statement he made, but it reminded me of how Gretzky used to talk about the game and how he'd see people. He could see where they were going before they were there. But in Brodeur's biography, he wrote to him that being a goalie is to be the most creative player on the ice. It demands innovation and imagination, an ability to adapt and consider alternatives in a split second, the capacity to generate multiple answers to the same or similar questions. I really thought that was intriguing, and if you have a kid that plays goalie, let them read that. Maybe go get that book, along with, I forgot to mention, Ken Dryden's book last week. The Game is one of the most well-known biographies ever for a hockey player. So if you have a young goalie, have them read those. All right, cards. Rookie card. I remember us shaking our head wildly at this last time we talked about it, so there's not much new to report, but his rookie card, I think a lot of people will be familiar with it. It's the 90-91 Score Canadian, number 439. There's also the Score American, same number. Obviously, I think the color difference, the color is the score, how it says score. I think the red, if it's red, it's the Canadian version. If it's blue, it's the American version. I can't remember if there's anything on the back that gives it away. The PSA 10 version of the Score Canadian has a pop of $639. And if you look at Card Ladder recent sales and their comp value, it's right around $181. So the greatest goalie of all time, you can get a PSA 10, a low pop count of his Canadian card for around $180.
So let's play this game. If you take Brodeur's same career, and in 2022 he's in his 5th year or 6th year, what is his Young Guns worth?
Jeez, it's
over $1,000, easy.
Yeah, actually, we'll say his. I mean, I'm looking at his stat. Yeah, he would be. I mean, he'd have over 100 and some wins, and maybe like 50 to 60 losses. Yeah, he'd be. It would be. Yes, it would be huge. Be nowhere. It would be. I tell you what, it'd be greater than $181.
So I have a new theory that might totally be convenient logic, but when it comes to situations like Brodeur's 1990-91 Score Canadian PSA 10 pop 639, which put in the context of, I think there's more Jack Hughes Young Guns, just speaking of another devil, that part of that absolutely makes zero sense is kind of one of the wonderful and beautiful and mysterious things about our hobby that I'm choosing to embrace, right? Embrace things that don't make sense versus pull your hair out and try to figure out why. And one of the reasons why I think I really love doing these segments is give people ideas on ways to spend your money, especially if you want to appreciate the history of the game, get what should be good long-term investments. I'm assuming that for what Matt Boldy and Matty Beniers Young Guns are going for today, you could darn near buy one of the greatest hockey player ever's rookie PSA 10 that's 30 years old.
Yep, and even if we want to take the step down, the PSA 9 version of that Canadian card's like $15 to $25.
I still like BGS 9.5.
Yeah, the BGS 9.5 $75, and has even a lower pop than the PSA 10. It's $192. So it's pretty crazy. And then obviously there's the American version, and obviously everyone knows it's probably going to be cheaper, which it is. The PSA 10 of that much larger pop count, 1,246, and it ranges from around $68 to $78, or sorry, US dollars. That's what we got. That's Marty Brodeur.
Marty B, number 30 for episode 30. Okay, let's move on to movers and shakers. Like always, we'll start with who's hot. Troy's favorite, almost quasi-defenseman, but not really, biggest gong show, probably faux pas to date, and there have been many, is Nikita Kucherov.
No, this is the year he wins the Norris. I'm telling you all. Yeah. This is the year. They're just going to realize it. And just so very old, no more hate mail. I know he's not a defenseman. I screwed up episode like 3 or 2, and I corrected it even during mid-show. So it's a joke. We get it.
I think you're obsessed with hate mail. I don't recall ever getting hate mail to this point. But
I'll take the hate mail when it comes in. I'll take it all.
It was probably episode 2 or 3, wasn't it?
It was super early because it was just funny that someone made a really funny comment in the Instagram post when I said it, and it was really good. I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
And now every once in a while, people chime in and say Troy's favorite defenseman. I was going to get a shirt. I should have got a shirt made. It said Kucherov for Norris and wore it at the Expo.
What had to have been before the 2021-22 season awards, right?
Yeah,
right in
probably.
that window from when we started. And I think that you probably mixed up Kucherov and Hedman.
Yeah, I for sure.
And nominated Kucherov for the Norris Trophy, which is pretty awesome. So happy that happened. All right, so Troy's favorite defenseman, who doesn't play defense, he is currently third in the NHL point race with 21 points in 13 games. He has 6 goals and 15 helpers. Last season, he had 69 points in 47 games played. And if you remember, he did have, Troy, 128 points in 2017. So he's more than capable of keeping this pace up. And I think that as we look at guys right now that are killing it from a point production, one of the things we're going to probably transition to talking to over the next couple of weeks is how realistic is it that this player keeps at the pace he's currently at. And given Kucherov, I think also has another season over 100 points too. So I would say there's a good chance that he can keep it rolling. From a hockey card perspective, his 2013 Young Gun PSA 10 popped 345, last sold Troy for $375 US. It's well off its all-time high set this past June of $999 and has really been trending down ever since. Even if you look at the past month, it's down 10%. So it's really curious as to... It's like nobody told this card that the off-season dip is over. And to go, I mean, it's lost, 2/3 of its value or close to that now? Mm-hmm. You have any theories as to why?
I have 0 theories because Kucherov's one of those guys I kind of forget about, but he is sneaky, really good. Like you said, he's got 2 seasons with 100 points or more. He won the Hart Trophy, if I remember that, in his big year, where he got 128.
Yeah.
And you kind of look at he's still young. I mean, he's in his prime. He's 29 years old. And he's obviously got, 15 points? What do you have for points? 21 points. That's what you said. So
yeah.
He's off to an awesome start. I mean, and last year, 69 points in 47 games. I mean, what's his, I don't know why it's down like that much. I mean, it seems like you're a Kucherov fan or just an investment perspective, it might be a good deal.
So I think if you're of the mindset that maybe the hobby is struggling more than some people might think, this would be maybe a case that you would point to because it doesn't really make sense. And I think this is one that I'm going to personally be looking at because if he continues this pace over the next couple weeks, this card just has to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost illogical to assume it would go down more. But hey, if you've always wanted a Kucherov rookie, I'm guessing now's a pretty good time to jump in there. Next guy. So we have Kucherov is Nathan Mackinnon. So one might think, Troy, that coming off a Stanley Cup, signing a big new contract that makes you the highest paid player in the NHL, that you might rest on your laurels, I guess, a little bit, or be a little bit in cruise control. But that's definitely not McKinnon so far. Through 11 games, he has 19 points with 3 goals and 16 helpers. A little bit off on the scoring touch, but obviously 16 assists is a lot for this point. He does have 55 shots on goal, which is 6th in the NHL. I didn't do the math, but terrible shooting percentage. 3 for 55 is, what's that? It's got to be 5% or something like that. I think why that's pertinent is I'm assuming the goals will come around. He's a pretty good player and has definitely scored in the past. In the 2-game series with the Blue Jackets in Finland for the NHL Global Series, he had a very impressive 7 assists. So it was a good showing for him overseas, which I think is pertinent because the NHL is trying to expose the game to new fans, and he obviously showed out there a little bit. So that might get some European interest in collecting MacKinnon there. He's also, he was just named the second star of the week in the NHL, and he's obviously on a great team that should contend for another cup. So a lot of things going in MacKinnon's direction right now for sure. From a Hockey Cards perspective, last sale of his 2013 Young Gun PSA 10 pop 1,042 was $900 US, which was up from its two previous sales of $795 and $737. So this is again where like the Kucherov thing is really strange. They're very similar performance, great players, both have won Stanley Cups, and the fact that Kucherov just keeps going down, down, down is so strange, where we have the opposite trend line for MacKinnon, and ironically, they're both the same year Young Gun. They're both 2013. MacKinnon's population is almost 3 times what Kucherov's is. So I go back to the beautiful, nonsensical mystery that is hockey card collecting. Doesn't quite make sense.
It doesn't make sense because as you were talking, I wanted to compare MacKinnon and Kucherov. So I was looking at MacKinnon. He's never had a 100-point season. Kind of blew my mind. He has never scored more than 41 goals in a year. And 41 is his high. That to me is really intriguing to see his pricing. Obviously, Colorado's a bigger hockey market than Tampa Bay. So do you think part of it's just playing in Tampa Bay? Could that be?
I don't know, but they have 3 cups. He has 1.
I know. That's crazy.
So are you on Card Ladder right now?
No, I'm on Hockey Reference.
Okay, go to Card Ladder real quick, and while I'm talking, look up Kucherov, the Young Guns PSA 10, and look at the all-time, and look at the trend line. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
okay. I got it. I already got it.
You got it?
Yep.
I mean, it's like a landslide.
Yep.
Right? That's going down. Kind of wild. The third nominee for Who's Hot in this Thursday's episode is your guy, Troy, Nick Suzuki, who is the youngest, not quite French-speaking captain for Montreal.
Have we got an update on that yet? Has he learned? Is he fluent in French? Because that one politician said he better get fluent in French. Just kidding. I know it's going to take a lot longer.
Do you think that, like, Rosetta Stone was part of his contract? Or
well, I wonder if he got in a debate with himself. Like, do I do Rosetta Stone? Do I do Babbel or whatever it's called? There's, these competing language courses.
Yeah.
Hope he's figured it out. Bonjour.
Well, he's sure not making them look bad for giving him the captaincy so far. Through 13 games, he has 16 points, a dead even 8 goals and 8 assists. Last year was his best season to date, where he tallied 61 points. So he's definitely Troy on pace for a career year. I think playing on a line with Cole Caulfield and to a lesser extent Kirby Dach should ensure he has plenty of chances. It's a decently potent line. Wouldn't mind them on our team. From a Hockey Cards perspective, last sale of his 2019 Young Gun PSA 10 Pop 365 had jumped to $310 US. And the sale was on November 8th. So it would have been Tuesday, in case anyone wants to know. Prior sales to that were $260 US on 11/3 and $214 on 10/30. So it's going up. It is still, though, down 17% in the past month. And just for everyone's frame of reference, the all-time high for this card is $535 US. It was set in February 2021. From a raw perspective, his 2019 Young Guns last sale was for $104. And it was the third consecutive sale that the value increased. Prior to that, it had sold for $70 US on 10/30. Another example of, and I think actually, boy, I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think Kucherov is the first person we featured in Who's Hot, whose values were going down. Oh, hey. Wow, okay. Horn. The struggle bus is in a hurry today, Troy. So we better get moving. We'll let you. We've had the trend of starting with a goalie lately, so we'll keep it rolling and let you start.
Yeah, do we need to give a warning on that sound? Oh, that horn is loud. That's a struggle bus coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
All right, so we got a suggestion. Actually, this was from our Discord user, 419 Sports Guy, and I actually agree with him that Juuse Saros is kind of being I give him some struggle bus. I think he's in the front row. He's not terrible. Obviously, like he's won games and everything, but I think from what I thought of him coming into the season, I really thought this was his breakout year and he was kind of blowing up, or he was going to blow up after the first game. It looked like he played awesome. And then things have kind of taken a step back. I would say so far his season's been a disappointment. Are we done saying the beginning of the season, or are we still saying that?
I think it's early season. It's definitely not
early
beginning
season now. Okay, so his early season has been a struggle. But like I said, it's not been horrible. It just seems like he is playing average. And I think Juuse Saros, we should expect more than just an average goalie. Right now, he's 3-5-1 with a 3.12 goals against average, which is not good, and a .904 save percentage, which is below league average. And when I say he's an average goalie, I talked about the stat before, it's goals saved above average is negative 0.3. So he's basically, that stat right there says you are the league average goalie. That's basically what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Their backup goalie in Nashville, Kevin Lankinen, in his 3 starts has gone 2-1 with a 2.36 goals against average and a .933 save percentage. So they brought in Lankinen to be kind of give Saros relief because he played way too many games last year, got injured, didn't even play in the playoffs. But now the backup's actually doing pretty well. However, let's all take a step back and remember his wins have come against San Jose, Columbus, and Calgary, who have a combined 11 wins in 37 games. So it's not like I don't think he's in there pushing Saros out of the net, but it's interesting to see how well the backup has been playing. And Saros is getting that rest that he needs. So something's not going right with his season so far. However, if we're looking for hope that he can get off the struggle bus, in his last 4 games, Saros has gone 2-2 with a little bit better save percentage of .913. However, his goals against in those 4 games is still just a tad over 3, which needs to get better. I really think to get him off the struggle bus, he's going to need back-to-back just outstanding performances, which is not happening right now. He's struggling. He's on the bus. If you look at his card perspective, this was actually pretty hard to do because his Young Guns is a 2015-16. The PSA 10, I think the pop was 61, and it barely trades anywhere. But I could find the PSA 9, which actually has a lower pop, but I found more recent comps. Its pop is 51, and it's down from a beginning of October value of around $35 for the PSA 9 version to around the $25 range now. So down about 29-30%. So it's definitely, the card market seems like it's taking notice. However, I don't know how much you want to read into it, but there's not a ton of sales and not a lot of population out there of those graded cards.
It seems like goalies really struggle too when the team is not playing well in front of them.
Yeah,
probably kept an obvious statement, but it's really hard for you to be successful when your team isn't scoring goals.
Well, and plus, I don't want to go down this road, but if you are really into analytics for hockey, it is by far the most random game there is. And luck has a huge part to do with hockey. Just bounces, puck luck. You'll hear it all the time. But there's been some people have done analysis, and I'm going to say the wrong number, but they were looking at it and they're like, 30 to 40% of what happens in hockey is just a random bounce. Don't ask me how they got to that, but it's pretty nuts how random hockey can be, and that can affect your play, good and bad.
Well, for the next 2 guys on the struggle bus, Troy, it's a little bit of a blues crew, we'll call it. First guy is going to be our great friend and neighbor, Jake Neighbours. There was, I think, a decent amount of hype for Jakey Boy coming into the season. I personally stocked up on him a little bit, so that's great.
So you're implying that your hype is everyone was hyped.
Yeah, maybe it was just me, but I think I done a little research and there was evidence that he could have a really good year, and he had a good preseason too. It just hasn't translated to the regular season, where he's not off to the best start. In 11 games, he has 1 goal, 0 assist. For all you mathematicians out there, that's 1 point, with an average ice time of over 12 minutes. He's also -9 in the plus-minus, so not fantastic. As I was doing some last-minute show research today, I saw he'll be riding the struggle bus, Troy, back to Springfield, to the Blues AHL club.
Ooh, that's... So, he just got booted off the struggle bus onto, I don't know, the Greyhound... No, actually it'd be the dollar bus. The mega bus or whatever, the one that...
I think the bus is the right analogy, because don't they fly you when you get called up? So he was sent on the struggle bus back to Springfield. So I was reading some articles, and there's some interesting quotes from Blues GM Doug Armstrong. Well, first of all, he tried to stress that it's not his play at the NHL level, but more about Neighbours' long-term development. Hard to believe that.
Yeah.
We're sending him to the AHL not because of his play, but because we think it's best for him. Another quote that to me seems strange is, so this is right from Doug Armstrong. What does this mean? He's played well here, but in the current environment, I think it's best for his long-term development to go to the American Hockey League, play with some peers, and also get comfortable again in offensive situations. What does get comfortable in? Is he just
losing the puck in rushes, entering this, not doing enough zone entries? But I mean, I kind of get what they're saying, but I also wish they would just, I mean, I guess they don't want to destroy his ego, but just be honest. He's not playing well. We think for his development and for him to get better, we need him to go to the AHL and probably get more ice time and maybe get a little more confident in his game. And then we bring him back up. You don't have to be so, well, this coming from a high school hockey coach who knows all about how delicate you have to be with some of these wording situations. So
I get that. You want to protect his ego and you want to, you don't want him to be, I guess, lose his confidence. Where I said get more comfortable in offensive situations.
I mean, it could be just he's turning the puck over. They're seeing things they don't like. He's not reading the situation, maybe missing assignments, or not assignments on the DM, but where he's supposed to be in the offensive zone, reading what's going on. That's what it sounds like to me.
Or gripping the stick too tight.
Yeah, gripping the stick too tight.
From a hockey card perspective, his 2021 Young Guns Raw last sold for $7.75 US. Overall, the past few days, sales seem to be in the $8 to $9 US range. About a month ago, so you want your mind to be blown here, this card was selling in the $2 to $3 US range. So you want to triple your value, play 11 games, and get 1 point. You want to lose 2/3 of your value, be a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, have 21 points in 13 games. And again, beautiful, nonsensical mystery that is hockey cards. So Jake's got a friend from the Blues on the struggle bus, and it's Mr. Jordan Kyrou. He's played 11 games as well and has 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points. He's also, Troy, minus 17 in plus-minus.
Yeah, and again, I'm not the biggest plus-minus guy, but man, minus 17's bad.
It's almost impossible to imagine that Jordan Kyrou is on the struggle bus as a Wild fan, because it seems like every time we play the Blues, he has 5 goals. So maybe that's the prescription for him, is just to have a 5-game series with the Wild somehow and figure it out. He was the one in the Winter Classic last year that just crushed us, right? Yeah. So his 82-game pace, so last year he had 75 points in 74 games. His 82-game pace this year is 30 points. Not good. It's also been a very rough start for the Blues in general. Troy, right now they have 6 points, which is tied for Columbus for worst in the NHL. That's pretty rough after 11 or so games.
Mm-hmm.
From a hockey card perspective, Kyrou is a 2018 Young Gun. His PSA 10 Pop 213, last sold for $107 US on October 29th. If you look back prior to the start of the season, it was selling for $150 US, so it's lost about 29% of its value in the last month or so. I tried to look up his 2019 Young Guns Raw, and honestly, it was all over the place. So I've seen in the last week it sell for as high as $24 US and as low as less than $8 US.
Yeah.
So again, another one, figure that one out. All right, so that's Who's Hot and Struggle Bus for the Thursday edition of Gong Show. Now, Troy, what I wanted to do, because we are headed out tomorrow to the Expo, is maybe do a little bit of our kind of final preview of that. And where I thought that this might be interesting is, I think, largest extent, that's a good way to put it. As we've talked about the Expo, we've been mainly asking other people questions about the Expo. And so I thought it might be fun to maybe ask each other some questions or get each other's perspectives a little bit. So, Troy, I'm going to ask you, what are you looking forward to the most in going to the show?
I am looking forward to going to a card show and seeing lots of hockey. I will say, we've mentioned this on the show, our experience so far, even in the Twin Cities, and my jaunts out to Vegas and Nashville have both been very, very disappointing with the amount of hockey we've seen at shows. So that's my number one thing I'm really excited for, is just to see a show with hockey. And then number 2, obviously, is meeting everyone, Patreon subscribers, Gong Show listeners, and people that follow the Instagram and read our stuff, comment on our stuff. Even though I get antsy in crowds, I am really excited to meet a lot of people that I only know Instagram names or Discord names. So putting faces to names, I think, would be awesome.
That's going to be a lot of fun. So I would echo both of those. I want to put one qualifier on the hockey cards and see if you've had this thought as well. I'm assuming, and I hope I'm right, that it's not just going to be a lot of hockey cards. There's going to be a lot of very interesting. It's not going to be just Cole Caulfield Young Guns. As much as I like those, or Kaprizov Young Guns, right? A lot of cool serial number cards, patch autos, really super high-end stuff that you don't get to see real often, even if I'm not in the buying market for. Just to be able to see some of that stuff in person, I think is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I for sure believe. I believe that there will be a lot of that stuff there.
I'm also excited to meet supporters and listeners and also connect with some potential show guests. It always is helpful in life to meet people in person. I'm pretty excited, too, to see what kind of extras, or I don't know the right word, special stuff that the show has going on. We know like Upper Deck has a redemption program that we're a little hazy on the details. Sounds like you buy a box, you rip it, and you bring back your wrappers, and you get.
And I don't think this is new. I'm sure they've done this before, and someone listening right now is like, "Oh my gosh, you idiots! It's so simple.
Meatheads.
Here's what they do."
It's new to us. It's new to us. So I want to check all that out. I'm really interested to see how many people are there, and this is all kind of temperature reads on where the hobby is at. How many people are buying and what the prices look like. I am kind of worried though that you would expect everything to be in Canadian pricing, and our brains are going to explode having to do mental conversions a million times.
Use your phone, and remember the US dollar is very strong right now.
Ooh, bonus. Hey, do you think? I wonder if like Series 1 boxes will be cheaper. They probably won't. They'll just
these people are pretty smart when they price out their stuff.
Really, the American suckers too, I'm sure. We're speaking on a panel. I think that'll be kind of fun. I know you're looking forward to it.
Did you say we? I thought it was you.
No.
I'm going to stand by the stage and offer my support as we like the looking over the spouse, the girlfriend over there, just looking at you going, good job.
I'm the moderator, so I get to choose who talks, and I'm just going to point to you all the time. Also looking forward to checking out some of the, I guess, you'd put in more corporate booths. I want to kind of curious to see what Tag's got going on, and maybe eBay with their vault service.
KSA and MNT, because I've talked about how I have no info on the Canadian graders, and they're both going to be there. And I kind of mentioned this before in a previous show. I would love to stop by their booth and just check it out.
What are you looking to buy at the show?
I don't know. Everyone says make a plan, and I'm doing the complete opposite. Obviously, I have my PCs, so I will be very interested in Bossies, Odgers, Pelle Lindberghs. I like to see if I can find some different cards. But besides that, obviously, probably just buy stuff you want and try to sell it to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing the vintage, or doing the kind of the jersey number stuff has led me to kind of want to look at some of those names to see what's out there. Even like the more expensive stuff, maybe like the Ken Drydens, or it's not expensive, but the Niedermeyers and stuff like that. I'm kind of interested, but I don't have like this huge set list. I'm kind of the free flow, and I'll just see what happens. Maybe everyone's going to tell me I'm an idiot. That's the wrong way to do it. You got to have a plan. Stick to your plan. I'm more just kind of go soak it all in. This is the first time, and maybe next time I'll bring a written down list or something. But we'll see. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. I do want to buy wax or sealed boxes too. Like that's and not even just hockey. I would like to find some other sports that I like and see what's there as well.
Yeah, I'm looking for my Stastny OPG rookie PSA 10 that we've talked about on the show. I'm kind of like you. I'm trying to be more open-minded, and I don't really have a firm list of stuff that I'm interested in picking up. One thing I do love, though, and I plan to spend lots of time, is sifting through dollar boxes, because to me, that's just the most fun. I could spend an hour looking through a value box or dollar box, whatever you want to call it, and end up with nothing and still have a good time.
Yeah, we have a local card shop here, one of them, that has a lot of dollar boxes for hockey that we walk in there, you do an immediate a beeline right to it, and you're good. You're good for about 45 minutes, so I just go walk around, and I'll start looking through them too, but you definitely can hit those and go at it.
What, are you nervous about anything or unsure about anything? Or
I'm nervous that it's going to be really crowded. But if it is, that's good. That's a good thing. I don't want to walk in and it be empty. Even though personally I'd be like, oh, this is great. I can stretch. I can walk around, take my time. Crowds, I get a little antsy in crowds, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine once we get talking to people. And
at least we were smart enough and got our own hotel room, so we'll avoid any planes, trains, and automobiles moment of,
true.
That's not a pillow.
Yeah, that's very true.
I guess the other thing, too, we can take solace on is if either of us catches COVID, we'll be for sure to give it to the other person on the ride home as we're in a car together for 15 hours. I don't know. Any predictions? Do you think it'll be busy? Do you think or is it just tough to tell?
I think it'll be busy just from the standpoint. It sounds like I'm going at it from the collectors and how hockey has a lot of collectors, and this is the big show. So I think it'll be busy from that standpoint. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be wall-to-wall people where you can't move. I have no idea, but I am really looking forward to it.
I hope that's not the case because I don't want to fight with people to get to tables.
Yeah,
and to look through cards.
Well, I'm good. I don't like. I get always nervous when our guests have said, don't say comps and don't look up stuff on your phone at the table. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to take space away. I would obviously move to the side, but you know what? It's 2022. If I want to look up comps on my phone, I'm going to. I'm not gonna yell at you and get in an argument over it, but I will step off to the side, look up, and try to use the best verbiage. But if I say comps, I say comps. I mean, that's how it is.
You bring in any cards to try to trade at all, or are you just bringing cash money?
Just cash money. I might some supplies in case we rip some boxes. Want to make sure I have stuff for that.
I'm bringing a box of slabs and a box of cards and top loaders just in case. I'm not sure I'll ever get around to doing anything with them. Just might keep them in the hotel safe. We'll see. All right, let's roll into some quick hobby news, Troy. So I want to start with injury update. Some good news on the Josh Norris front. Looks like he won't require shoulder surgery for an injury he sustained on October 22nd. Guess he's been to like 5 doctors or specialists that they consulted, and continued rehab is the prescription.
Isn't that called doctor shopping?
Probably. Find me a doctor that doesn't want to do surgery. Mm-hmm. I think this gives him probably the most hope to play again this season. From last I saw, Ottawa saying they'll kind of see where he's at in a couple weeks. But decently good news. On the goalie front, Mackenzie Blackwood, Devils goalie, has been spending time with Vitek Vanecek, is out 3 to 6 weeks with an MCL sprain. I think the kind of most pertinent thing here is if you're a Vanecek person, he's obviously going to get a lot of room to shine. They were splitting games about 50-50. And then, Troy, did you see this from last night, Tuesday night, where Evander Kane went down and got his wrist cut by, I can't remember who was on Tampa, but he was immediately taken off the ice and sent to the hospital for a quote-unquote procedure. Not sure how long he'll be out yet. Have you ever, in all your years in hockey, experienced anybody being cut by a skate blade?
Just from TV, watching Clint Malarchuk, goalie, that got sliced in the neck. I think it cut his jugular. And don't ever do yourself a favor, don't ever watch the video of it. It's on YouTube. He gets cut, and not to go into too much graphic detail, but you see everything, and he just skates off. And if you actually read about the story, the trainer basically saved his life by like taking his thumb and jamming it all the way in and stopped the blood from coming out. And then personally, I was a kid at open skating, and a kid fell down and got run over. His pinky got sliced, but it stayed on, but it was just dangling. And I think they actually reattached it and everything is what we heard. Obviously, I didn't follow up with them, or I didn't know who it was. But yeah, it's amazing. It doesn't happen more often.
Yeah, so scary news there. Obviously, he seems like he'll be okay. So that's a very good development. Wanted to talk about this briefly just because I have maybe a card-related question, but did you see that Ryan Reynolds is interested in buying the Senators? They recently announced that they're going to be going through a sale. He needs money, I think.
Well, he bought the soccer team, right?
I don't know.
Wrexham. He's got his TV show with the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Is it Rob McLaren? Is that right? I don't know. But yeah, he bought a soccer team.
I wanted to bring this up because do you think it would be helpful in any way for the hobby to have Deadpool owning an NHL team?
Oh, I will say this. He's very personable. He's got the TV show about him owning the soccer team. I think people like him. He's Canadian, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I think he would have a vested interest in a hockey team. I see no problem with it. Obviously, he'll probably get smart business people to run it, and he can kind of be the face or the celebrity face. I don't see any issue with it. It's not like he's going to own 100% of it. He doesn't have that much money.
No. It's time to do some local card show shout-outs. First, I want to start. There's I didn't even know if this was worth mentioning. There's a small show in Mississauga this weekend, which is a suburb of Toronto. It's called the Toronto Sport Card Expo, but we've talked about that enough. The other one that we have, if you're not able to make it north of the border, if you're in the U.S. or you don't, I suppose if you're in Canada, why would you go anywhere than the expo? But the East Coast Cards and Autograph Expo is, it's not this weekend. It's the following weekend. So good. You can go to both. It is November 19th and 20th. This is from listener, Instagram follower, fan of NY Rangers. It's at the Mohegan Sun Casino, which is at 1 Mohegan Sun Boulevard in, is it Uncasville? Uncasville, Connecticut?
Yeah, it's like Uncasville, Connecticut.
Oh, here we go with the pronunciation thing again. Anywho, it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday. It's $10 admission at the door. You can go to ECCAexpo.com for more information. That's 19th and 20th of November. Have you even, I know that you hadn't seen any data since I pointed out to you, but I want to talk about the NHL scoring pace so far. Even intuitively, had you felt, just looking at games and box scores, that scoring was way up this year?
I didn't know that if I'd have just taken what I've watched, I wouldn't have thought that. But I do know, I have some thoughts on why as we get into it.
Okay. So far in 2022, there's been an average of 6.5 goals scored per game. If it keeps up, it would be the highest in at least 10 years. That's how far back I looked up. And I did find data later that so far I think it's officially the highest goals per game average since 1993-94. Just for everyone's reference, I looked up a lot of this data on Hockey Reference, which is a site we use a lot. 6.5 goals per game. And last year was 6.22, which was another higher year. If you look back, though, Troy, from 2017 to 2020, it was just under 6 per game. And from 2012 to 2016 is about 5.3 per game. So in the last 6 years, it's gone up more than a goal per game. I found a article on Sportsnet from Canada, and here's where their reasoning, and I'll see if this resonates with you or you agree or disagree. There's opinions that the game is being called in a manner that's like officiated, that's giving players more freedom of movement. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%, because every year there's always some kind of point of emphasis, and it will be stick checking or it will be hooking or slash. You got to remember back in the, when really scoring started getting constrained, I mean, you could stick check, meaning almost slash the guy repeatedly, and it was just part of the accepted game. But now there's always some new point of emphasis on stick checks, or now cross checking has been a big thing. You used to get away with cross checks unless you're Drew Doughty against Kaprizov. You can just cross check him at will and not get called. But those are actually getting called more and more often now. So yes, agree 100% with that point.
Another theory that I think this might be a little controversial is lack of truly elite goalies. What do you think about that?
But there was actually, it's funny you brought that up, because there was an article also on The Athletic, and I kind of was reading it, and it made kind of sense what the guy was talking about. He's like, it's not really the lack of elite goalies, but he said there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a pool of goalies that will never get looked at because they're not now 6'2". There could be potential really good goalies in that pool, but they're never going to get looked at by an NHL team. And then also, back in the day, goalies during the offseason would go work out with each other, still do all this training with these specialized goalie coaches. And their thought is now, guess what? Forwards and defensemen are starting to do that. They're training together. There's no offseason anymore. They're getting better. They know the weaknesses. There's more analytics on where to shoot on these goalies. I think all that combined, and I can keep kind of going.
I have one more, and then I'll turn it over to you.
You go one more, and then I'll keep going.
I'm pretty sure you'll agree with this one, too. The other point they made is the amount of defensemen that are joining the rush.
That's true. That relates exactly to analytics and what it's telling us. No more dump and chase. Zone entries, defense joining the play, having that extra offensive defenseman who's just like a forward could definitely lead to more scoring. We know the NHL wants more scoring. I don't think that's a secret. They have done things to, I don't want to say hamper. It was getting out of hand at times, but now goalies, I can't remember what the last equipment chain is. I think it was the Breezers. they had to slim down the breezers because these goalies would just get in the biggest breezers they could. And chest protectors have been limited now because they used to just get in these huge chest protectors that they really were way too big for them. So obviously the NHL has an interest to get scoring up. It's what drives fans. No one, as much as I love goalies and love defensive games, that's not the majority of hockey fans, just besides the purists. And to get new people in, I think you need more goals. So.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly creating more goals. And this is totally anecdotal, but I did wanted to bring it up. So each episode, when we're looking at who's hot and trying to do research for who could be on the struggle bus, one of the things that I'll often do is I'll go to like ESPN.com and just go team by team at stats. And I've been really surprised how many players on each team are like at around or above a point per game this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, right? So you can see how this is matriculating down through the players. And I would assume it'll be good for the hobby if it keeps up, right? Or I don't know.
It might be bad for goalies, but good for everyone else. And there's a lot more forwards / skaters than there are goalies.
Or you just become desensitized to points, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could have, who knows what the number of people that'll score over 100 points this year will be. I think of things like, what will the hobby impact be if McDavid eclipses 150 points this year, which he's way above that pace right now. And frankly, him and Draisaitl both could get 150 points. It just could be really, really interesting, I think, to follow. But yeah, so long story short, there's lots of goals being scored so far this year. Well, it's probably about time, Troy. One might say we buried the lead today in not talking about Series 1, which is officially out. Another might say it's a really cunning move to get people to listen to the end of the show or towards the end of the show, but we'll leave that up for everyone's own personal judgment. So we are, as I mentioned earlier, recording this on Wednesday. Series 1 is officially out. I've ripped a hobby box so far. I know you haven't, so I'm going to gloat over you so far. We've already posted the first video from our ROI tracking series that we do on typically TikTok and Instagram, so you can go check that out there. And I guess, Troy, I just want to give a couple of my instant reactions to opening one hobby box. So definitely not a complete opinion yet on the product, but there's a couple of surprises. Number one, the photos are amazing. Like, I am the pretty jaded hockey collector. When I rip, you kind of fly through the base. I noticed probably 6 or 7 times I stopped at base cards and I was like, wow, that is a cool photo. In particular, there's a number of goalie cards that are really close-ups on the mask. Kind of like almost a headshot with the mask on. And they are super, super cool. I think the goalie photos are off the charts amazing. And it's kind of cool because base isn't worth a lot, but still fun to look at. And I can't remember the last time I stopped and stared at base cards for 5 seconds before I moved on. I was really impressed with the holdover inserts. So these are inserts that were in Series 1 or Series 2 last year. I think Upper Deck did a way better job from a design and material standpoint of making the cards better. So I really like the updated portraits design. A couple cards from Series 1 last year that were really underwhelming to me were rookie retrospectives and debut dates. They're really like they've got like rainbow foils. I don't know, Troy, if they'll be worth anything, but the card itself is just a way better and more interesting card than it was last year. So again, give Upper Deck a lot of props there. The Dazzlers look pretty good again, kind of incrementally better. They're a little less, they're a little glossier maybe this year. I really like the Freestyles insert. It's very textured and kind of foiled and cool. I'm still undecided on the Young Guns design. It is better in person, but I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm going to warm up to it. So I'm sort of withholding judgment, I guess is the best way to put it. So a couple, maybe, I don't know if you call them negatives or not, but my least favorite design for the inserts is probably the honor roll. it looks super plain. I'm guessing some of the numbered ones are better, but here I'm going to show Troy in the camera.
Oh yeah,
It's just kind of not
it's
not super.
It's an insert.
So here's the date. Do you remember the debut dates from last year? I
was gonna say when you said debut dates, because I remember last year they're just kind of fillers. You just kind of move past them. Yeah, that I can see the foil, like the rainbow color. That looks cool.
And here's the rookie retrospective. Yeah, and this is Lucas Raymond.
Yeah, that looks a lot better.
Yeah, and it's kind of like got almost a hologram in it. So much better job there. The other thing is, I don't know, I'm not saying the quality is horrible, but I did notice some edge issues on some of and it's one box, so some of the packs. So I'm definitely interested in opening a bunch more, probably at the expo. And of course, we're going to be tracking values. One of the things we did, though, a day or so ago that I think is worth mentioning is we did a number of polls on Instagram where we asked our followers and listeners questions to kind of give predictions about this crop of young guns in Series 1, how they're going to do. And so the first question we asked was, which of these 4 Series 1 young guns will have the highest value in 1 month? I wanted to ask for a month because we know over the next week or two the values are going to be nutty, and then they should start to settle a little bit. Had fantastic response. A few hundred people voted. And the 4 people that I gave were Matt Boldy, Matty Beniers, Owen Power, and Kent Johnson. By far, the prediction from listeners he had 50% of the total votes, was in a month from today, Matty Beniers will have the highest value in his young guns. Would you agree with that, Troy? Is that who you would have picked?
That would probably be my number one for value.
And then Matt Boldy was at 28%. He was second. Owen Power, 19%. And our guy sleeper, Kent Johnson, at 3%. So then I asked a follow-up question for each of those 4 guys, just to get an idea of kind of where people think a month from now their individual values will be. And I gave ranges. So I gave, on the low end, less than $20, $20 to $40, $41 to $60, or greater than $60. Just thought that was kind of an even way to look at it. And so we went back to the players and started again with Matty Beniers and asked, a month from now, what's his value going to be? 52% of people that voted said it would be greater than $60. 39% thought 41 to 60, and 9% 20 to 40, and 0% thought less than 20. So do you think a month from now Beniers will be more than $60?
No.
He's been really slow. Like
I was going to say, I think he has enough slow streaks where that will hamper it a little bit. I don't see it getting over 60.
Okay. The next guy is Matt Boldy. So again, same question, same range. Under 20, 20 to 40, 41 to 60, or more than 60. This is all US, by the way. So 37% of people thought it would be more than 60. The winning percentage was 41% thought 41 to 60. 21% thought 20 to 40, and 0% think less than 20. So much more even distribution, but the winning, or the majority of people thought 41 to 60. Do you agree with that for Matt Boldy? More than 41?
I'm going to go 20 to 40.
Okay. You're a little more conservative on these.
I'm a true Minnesotan.
There you go. Next guy, Owen Power, same range. 60% or 30% of voters thought more than 60. I thought that was interesting. Really high percentage for 38%, which was the winning percentage, 41 to 60. 26%, 20 to 40. And here we actually had votes, so 6% thought less than 20. So if you had to guess for Owen Powers, what's your guess?
I would Owen Power. Yeah. I don't think less than 20. I'd go 20 to 40.
Okay. And then finally, Kent Johnson. So 10% of people actually thought more than 60, which I thought was kind of nuts. 17% think 41 to 60. And again, these are what's the card going to be worth a month from now, not tomorrow, because we know tomorrow is going to be insane. 58%. So the biggest percentage, I think, of any of these thinks $20 to $40, and 15% says less than 20. You
I'll go with the majority. I'll go with the people. I'll go with the people because I'm a man of the people. 20 to 40.
I agree with that too. We want to do more of this stuff too. I think it's super fascinating to see where people's heads are at as we get into kind of predicting the future. And it kind of goes back to what we've talked about a lot on our show is it's hard not to give predictions at times, but it's a very scary thing because we don't want people to, we're just dudes that are wrong just as much as we're right. And so I think in some cases like this, the groupthink consensus might be more interesting. I do want to mention though, and I think it's an appropriate time, and the last thing today on Series 1 is, and it's a plea, I think, to everyone out there. So if you've listened to our show for 6 months, I don't know if you've learned anything, but if I could hope that you've learned something, it's there's natural trends and patterns to how cards work. So if you're a buyer, and let's say you really want to Matt Boldy or Matty Beniers or Lucas Reichel or Noah Cates, whoever it is, you have to understand the prices over the next 2 weeks are going to be insane. And I guarantee you, maybe not in every single exception, but it will probably, it's almost 100%, 3 months from now, you'll be able to get any of these cards for way less than they sell for. Unless, unless one of these guys scores 50 goals in the next 2 months. It's hard to resist buying singles right now, especially if these are people you're waiting for. And honestly, if you don't care about the ROI and you just want the card and you'll pay $120 for a Matt Boldy Young Guns or whatever they're going for, go for it. I'm not here to try to tell you that that's wrong. But if you do kind of take a value perspective, whether it's just wanting to get a good deal for your collection or if you want to look at it as an investment, wait. Would you agree with that, Troy?
Agree 100%.
Flipping that over now to if you're in the mindset to maybe sell right now. This is the time where for 99% of these guys, the card values will be the highest. You have a couple options that I think are pretty decent here. So the first one is you can just list it raw on eBay and try to move it right away. If you think that you got one of these cards, like a Young Guns, a Boldy, or Beniers, that you think is in really good shape, actually SGC might not be a super bad route because they turn them around so dang fast, where you could have potentially an SGC 9.5 or 10 on the market next week. I think speed wins when new sets are released. You agree with that too, Trey?
Yep.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we will be following values closely and posting on social media, but it is pretty awesome. We've needed a new release, so incredibly happy that Series 1 is out. And after seeing, again, a very small sampling, one box in person, I'm very, very happy with the product. Okay, so like every Thursday, we're going to end the show and run through a quick mailbag. Troy and I will kind of alternate. So first question comes from the Gong Show Discord, our good friend Thaddeus Stewart. He says, what's your go-to route when you're in a card selling phase? The dreaded eBay, social media groups, trusted people within the hobby only. I've done a bit of both, but I never find consistent success. You want to take that first, Troy?
Sure. I am the dreaded eBay guy. To me, it's the easiest place. I am comfortable with it. I have an account. I set everything up, and I have no problem. I like the large buying pool. I can usually move things. I price my stuff very fair. So usually I move a lot of stuff when I do list stuff. It will sell. So I use eBay. I live with the fees. It is what it is. Now that I've thought about, maybe doing a little more like group stuff or, private, but it just hasn't come up yet. I just still use eBay.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. It's just easy and comfortable. You eliminate all the back and forth with people. You just post a card, they buy it, you print it, and ship it. I like that. Okay, a really good friend, Special One Cards, who's got a podcast, does a lot of soccer, a little bit of hockey. Everyone should check it out. Very, very good job he does there. He asked Troy, what do you think the hockey market, or why do you think the hockey market is one of the most stable compared to others? We've seen soccer take a huge hit, but hockey continues to slowly increase at a healthy level while other sports are getting hammered. Economically speaking, hockey seems to be a very conservative approach for investors who are looking to see small increases over time. Will this signify more people coming in the hockey hobby? My answer to this is I think he kind of answered it, Special did himself, like slow and steady wins the race. I guess you can look at it as a negative when we don't see huge, dramatic, rapid gains in hockey. You also don't have the big corrections, right? That come with that. So I think it is very much collector driven. It's slow incremental gains, so it makes it less volatile. Anything to add to that? Or
no, I agree with that. But I agree with that, and I actually thought it was kind of interesting. If you look at our Instagram post, we had a Instagram friend, was it Bolt Salty? Is that right? Is that the right person? Who looked at like modern NHL cards and did his own card ladder index. And,
I think that's Hockey Cards Up and Lapper 30. Yeah, those are.
Oh, that's who it is. Sorry, I apologize. But if you see the post, go read that stuff. It's really interesting what they were kind of digging into.
All right, Jets Collector from Instagram. What's your honest thoughts on where the hockey card market will be near the end of the NHL season? Will it surpass last year's high? Will there be massive spike at some point? You want to take that first, Troy?
That's right. I wanted to put like a shrug emoji. I don't know.
Yeah.
You tell me. No, I just think I said, if I have to make a guesstimate, I think it will see low digit steady growth in values. Obviously, I think whatever's going on in the economy plays a huge factor. And I don't know what the economy is going to do with inflation. Also, I think there is going to be help, though, from Upper Deck having this backlog of products, and I'm hoping that it will just keep kind of stoking demand as they need to release stuff, and hopefully they get on a more regular cadence of, I don't know, a product a month just to keep the kind of the fires burning.
I have a little bit of a theory that I'm developing that's sort of half thought out, so take this with a grain of salt, but I wonder, given all the turbulence in our economy and in the sports card market and expecting it to be a little bit more of a mixed bag through the end of the year, if you look at the cards that are doing well, they are the blue chip superstars that are playing well. It seems like it's the middle tier or the budding stars that are like the Jack Hughes or even guys that are playing well that don't have the biggest names that are struggling. So I don't know. And like I said, don't take this as buying advice, but I kind of wonder if it's going to be the Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl sort of players that really kind of carry the hobby, maybe with vintage through the rest of the year. All right, Ronald Joe on Instagram says, what are some of the best card carrying cases for slabs? Fireproof, waterproof? What are some options collectors look at in portable cases? This is one of the things I'm hoping that there are some exhibitors that we can check out. Don't know a lot about slab cases. I do know, though, that I don't think many of them are definitely not fireproof, because to be fireproof, they have to weigh a lot. And you'd be carrying 40 pounds of case with you without your cards in it. I don't think many are waterproof, but it would be a nice feature to have. And it seems like it's just the configuration as to what cards fit in it versus maybe some basic security options that they have. The one we're most familiar with is Zion cases, but I honestly don't know much about this segment.
Yeah, I'm a terrible person to ask about this. I don't have a slab case. My slabs are in cases on the wall, and I usually don't carry them around to card shows. So I want to get a case, and obviously Zion is the one we've seen at places, but I think it will be one of our missions at the expo to probably see what else is out there.
Next is from Hudson Cayley on Instagram. Hudson asks, how much do you think Zagreus Young Gun is now? I added this question because we get asked value questions a lot. And I think it's a good opportunity just to reinforce to people, if you want recent comps, like for a highly traded card, like a Kirill Kaprizov Young Guns or Cole Caulfield or Trevor Zegras, there's some great free resources. You can go to eBay sales history. Just look up a YouTube video on how to check eBay sales history. There's a great website called 130point130point.com. That's a great resource. If you want something that's more comprehensive, if you're looking up multiple card values a day or week, We love Card Ladder. Their sales history goes back like 15, 16 years, something like that. It is a subscription. It's $15 a month, but I think it's well worth it, and you get a lot of value. And if you are interested in Card Ladder, there is a link in our show description or on our Instagram profile that helps support our show if you use it. So we would encourage you to do that. Anything to add to that?
What's the value of a Trevor Zegras Young Guns?
Oh, yeah. I did look it up. Around $50 US right now raw, or $315 US for PSA 10. So there you go.
I will reiterate there's definitely free resources out there if the subscription or to Card Ladder is not something you can do right now. There's definitely free resources out there. Use them. They are really good.
The big limiting factor on eBay sales history or 130 point is they go back 90 days.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a rare card like a 2015 patch auto and you need to understand the sales history, you're going to be limited to that 100 or that 90-day window. Last question is from Garbage for Gretzky on Instagram. A really good question, tough one to answer. Why is Patrick Kane so undervalued? So this is late, Troy, and I'll go first and maybe give you a second to think about it. Like I said, it's a great question. I know many, many people have asked. Currently, I guess I would point out to that he's near the end of his career, and there's no longer the what could be factor or potential with him. Plus, his current team, which is the Blackhawks, has zero chance of winning the Cup. I understand that this is more of a recent perspective, that Kane values have been not up there with Austin Matthews or probably even McKinnon over the last few years. In saying that, Troy, there is a situation where everyone expects him to get traded. And if he does get moved to a Cup contender, particularly maybe like the Rangers or another big market team, I think that we could see a really, a natural spike in his values just from, he's been with the Blackhawks his whole career, just coming to a fresh team, having a chance to maybe chase another Cup.
I have no clue. It makes no sense. His production has actually, it looks like it's increased a little bit as he's gotten older. I don't understand it. He's over a point per game player. He's always been successful. He's got cups. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why he's not. I don't know why.
The beautiful mystery of hockey card collecting, right? Another example.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. Well, that is our show for Thursday. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you like this episode and like our show, please leave a rating or review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, want to support us, and want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation via Patreon. Join our 99 out of 99 support level tier. You can find information on that by going to the Patreon website and searching Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, or there's a link in the show description for whatever app you're listening to the show on now, or there's a profile link in our Instagram that will link you to our Patreon page as well. If you're not following us on social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Just go to any of those platforms, search Hockey Cards Gongshow. You will find us pretty easily. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. We will chat with everyone Monday with our reaction to the Toronto Sport Card Expo. See you then.